Hey everybody, how you doing? Back again for another video, and this one's going to be kind of my lost vinyl video. And you might be saying, Matt, why are you doing a lost vinyl video? Well, all the videos recently by so many people have really piqued my interest about our collections. You've seen all the videos recently about people's first CD, which has generated some talk about our CD collections and how we got into CDs and CDs, what we felt about them. So just looking at that and seeing all the interest in that, I thought, why not do something about my vinyl collection and take a look at it, give it another review and see what's there. As you remember, I told you in my CD video that I never culled my collection, or so to speak. I didn't weed out my collection. I never got rid of my vinyl collection. And you go back to my CD video to see how that all played out, why I never did get rid of any of my vinyl. But anyway, I didn't, and I'm glad I didn't get rid of my vinyl. But as I looked through my vinyl collection, I found some interesting artifacts, so to speak. I saw a lot of stuff that I have hardly played since obtaining them years ago, even decades ago. These are albums I just maybe bought them because I liked one or two songs on it at the time, added it to my collection, then I either converted it to CD eventually, or I never did. It was just an album that I just forgot about, had not a lot of interest in, and just put it in the darkness of the collection, and there it sat for many, many years. Now, I'm not ashamed of these albums. I don't dislike the artist that I'm about to show you. In some cases, I really do like the artist that I'm going to show you, and in some cases, I'm like, geez, why did I buy that? But anyway, there had to be a song or two on it that I really liked at the time. I was younger, you know, either in my late teens or 20s when I bought many of these albums. You're going back well over 30 years for most of them. And they've just kind of sat, like I said, in the darkness of my collection, almost like in a mini time capsule. And I just never pulled them out and listened to them because I'd always pass them over because there's so many other things that I'd rather listen to. And thus, they would just sit, you know, like I said, almost like a lost artifact, so to speak. So anyway, some of them have not seen the light of day in decades, and thought I'd show them to you and explain them to you. And as I said, please remember, for those of you that love some of these artists, this is not a slam on any of these artists. They're albums I just don't play anymore, and they're sitting in my collection. And I'll probably leave them in my collection. I'm not going to get rid of them. At this point, I've hung on to my vinyl for so long, I don't see any point now in getting rid of stuff. I'll let my kids worry about that when I don't come down for breakfast one day. They can deal with my collection and wonder what to do with it. So anyway, here's the first one. Still in the shrink wrap, Kiss's Animalize. Who remembers this album? From 1984, I believe, 83 or 84. And this is one of their second album without the makeup. And there had to be something about, maybe it was Heaven's on Fire or something, but I liked a song on this, and I bought it. And there it is. Hasn't been out in years. Here's one you might remember, Eddie and the Cruisers, the original motion picture soundtrack. And any of you that are into music know that the band who recorded the Eddie and the Cruisers songs were John Cafferty and the Beaver Brown Band, who are from up my way in Rhode Island. They're originally from Rhode Island area, and they were the band that did the soundtrack music for the two Eddie and the Cruisers movies. This one and Eddie and the Cruisers 2, Eddie Lives. Check that one out. Here's the back. And because I like that movie and On the Dark Side so much, the big hit song from that, and there were a couple of other hits also, I went and picked up John Cafferty and the Beaver Brown Band's next new album called Tough All Over. Still in the shrink, still with the hype sticker. I don't know how many of you, especially if you're not from the greater New England area, would remember John Cafferty and the Beaver Brown Band, but if you know Eddie and the Cruisers, then you know this band. Now this one I know I bought for just one song on it, okay? Twisted Sister, Stay Hungry. I bought this back in the early 80s because of the song We're Not Gonna Take It. What I found is I was never really an 80s hair metal guy. I liked some of the stuff, and I find now looking back on it many decades later that the stuff I liked by them was the stuff that was almost branching into the, or blending into the power pop realm, if you get my drift. Meaning it was heavy rock, but not so much on the heavy metal side, but more of a melodic, hook-filled kind of great guitar solo type music songs, and if that kind of bled into that power pop realm that I love so much, I would buy the song or want the song. And in this case, that song, We're Not Gonna Take It, if you know it, is just a great melodic song with a great guitar solo, and I think that's why I bought this album. But again, this has been sitting in my collection since 1984, I believe it came out, yeah, 84, and there it sits. Now this one's kind of a mini guilty pleasure of mine. He's kind of a poppy guy, kind of a girly, you know, teeny bopper kind of artist, Rick Springfield. But boy, when this album came out, folks, I really fell in love with it. I was in my late teens or early 20s, I think, and Working Class Dog was just, to me, kind of power pop-ish. As a matter of fact, I would kind of argue that it is power pop. Maybe some of you can help me there, either support me or go against me and tell me it's not, but I really always thought this was kind of a power pop album, and I love it and like it, and this is one I'm definitely not ashamed of having, because I do listen to the CD of this on occasion. This one this artist I definitely bought for one song. It was called Come On Feel the Noise. Who remembers that song? It's an old song by Slade, which Quiet Riot did a cover of. And I love that song, Come On Feel the Noise, so much. Again, melodic, guitar-laden, good guitar solo, hooks, you know, power pop-ish to me. I bought this album, Metal Health, which was their first big album. And because I like that so much, when they came out like only a year later with Condition Critical, it had another Slade cover on it called Mama, We're All Crazy Now. And I bought that one also. But again, they're two albums. I love those two songs, but to say when the last time was I put these two records on my turntable, years, decades. Okay, this one, my brother had Prince and the Revolution's Purple Rain. I thought that was a pretty good album. I've never bought it myself, but I liked a lot of the songs on it. So when he came out with his next album, which is called Around the World in a Day, and it had the song on it called Raspberry Beret, which I kind of like, I bought the album. But have I listened to it much? No. Nothing against it. Just, you know, other stuff. All right. How about this one? Who remembers the Stray Cats? Well, I love the Stray Cats in the early 80s. A few years after that, it's still in the 80s, I believe. I could tell you the year if I could see it. I'm not sure. But it's definitely mid to late 80s. I'll say mid 80s. Two of the Stray Cats got together with Earl Slick. Okay, you had Lee Rocker, Slim Jim Phantom from the Stray Cats, and Earl Slick. You may know the name Earl Slick. He was the guitarist on John Lennon's, well, on many different artists, you know, Bowie and people, but he played with John Lennon on Double Fantasy and Milk and Honey. He was the lead guitarist, or one of the guitarists, I should say. And they put out an album, they banded together and put out Phantom, Rocker, and Slick. And there had to be a song or two I liked on it, and I bought it. Okay, this band I still like. I still, well, on occasion, want to hear one or two of their songs. They're called Night Ranger, and they put out this album called Dawn Patrol. Any of you in my age category, you know of this album. This album was huge. It was monstrous in the early 80s, early to mid 80s, and it had Don't Tell Me You Love Me, Sing Me Away, some great, which I consider borderline power pop songs on it, which are my genre. And I grabbed it, and I think I have it on CD, and I still listen on occasion. Okay, this one he's a pretty good artist. I have nothing against having this guy's record, but I think I bought this just for a couple of songs on it. It's Eddie Money's No Control album, again from the 80s. And the big thing for me on this one was Think I'm in Love and Shakin'. Those are the two big top 40 hits. And I just thought it was fantastic. Again, especially Think I'm in Love is kind of a power poppy song. And again, you know, I hear a song like that and I gotta hear it, gotta have it. So there you go. Okay, this one is, they're a Canadian band and I like them. I have nothing against them. But again, I bought this Loverboy, Get Lucky in the 80s because, no, not because I love the cover so much, folks. Don't go there, okay? But I bought this because I like the song Working for the Weekend. What else was on here? When It's Over, Jump. I mean, it's just a great album. Lucky Ones, Take Me to the Top. It's just a great, great rock and roll album. Again, bordering on power pop a little bit, and so I bought it. But I don't play it often. Nothing against it. I just don't play it too often. All right, this one I definitely was a buy because when I was in the service back in the early 80s, my roommate was heavily into this band in the dorm or the barracks, whatever you want to call it. And he was so into this band that he convinced me to buy one of their albums. So I did. I have nothing against this band. I just never have gotten into them heavily. And he convinced me to get this one. Screaming for Vengeance, Judas Priest. This was their big top album at the time. I mean, there's like a catalog, a little catalog sheet came with this album back in the day where you could order a Judas Priest baseball hat, Judas Priest t-shirts, Judas Priest stickers, swag, you name it, Judas Priest underwear, whatever you wanted. And he was so into it, ordering all this Judas Priest stuff. He was so enthused about it that he talked me into getting this album. But I have to admit, I've hardly played it since. Okay, this is another big one when I was in the service. Heart. It's called Greatest Hits Live. Came out in 1980. And this was big in the barracks or dorm back then. Everyone was, you know, into rock and roll, was into Heart, you know. And had a lot of great stuff on it. I liked it because they had a cover of I'm Down and Long Tall Sally, which they did live here. Some live stuff on here and their greatest hits. And I love that. But I like a lot of the stuff on it, but it's just not an album I'm going to pull out and listen to. I mean, I'd rather listen to Wilkerson or the Gripweeds or Big Star, or, you know, before I listen to Heart. But that's just me nowadays. Okay, another one that at the time I was all enthused about, and I have nothing against this band. I've even seen them live once or twice. But Def Leppard, Pyromania. Who remembers this monster album? Back in '83, I believe. You notice a lot of mine still have the Shrink and the Hype stickers on them. They don't get a lot of play. But this was so big, and again, heavy, bordering on power pop, and I bought it, and there it sits in my collection. And another one across that vein would be Bon Jovi's first album. Self-titled Bon Jovi, but the song Runaway was the draw for me on this one. I heard the song Runaway, kind of liked it, hooky, you know, hooked me in. Nice melody and stuff. I liked it, so I bought the album. But to be honest with you, have I listened to this album ever the whole way through? I have to say no, I don't think I have. Is that bad? I don't know. Okay, another one. This was big. Asia. Who remembers the first Asia album? Still has the hype sticker with the band members' names on it. Kind of a super group. Heat of the Moment. Wow, I love that song when it first came out. Only Time Will Tell. Wildest Dreams. It had like 3, you know, pretty big hits on it. It was a big thing at the time, and I liked it. I liked the melodies. I've listened to the whole album maybe a couple of times, and there's a lot of prog rock on it, which I'm not really that into, you know, prog rock stuff. I'm not into that whole, you know, Emerson, Lake and Palmer and that kind of stuff. Not into it. Just not my bag. But I did like the Asia album. I don't listen to it often anymore, but I have it. And last but not least is Bryan Adams' Cuts Like a Knife. This was one of my favorite albums in the early 80s. I mean, I really liked Bryan Adams. He was like a rocker to me. I had his album that came out before this one called, what was it called? You Want It, You Got It, or something like, I forget what it was called. But anyway, I liked that album. It had a couple of good songs on it. So when his new one came out in '83, I believe this was '83, Cuts Like a Knife. I like Cuts Like a Knife. I like This Time, Take Me Back. There's just a lot of great power pop-ish songs on this album, and I loved it so much I bought it. One quick funny story about this album. I remember being in the service, and me and my roommate had met some college girls, a bunch of us, you know, from the military, blended with the local state college, and we were all going to get together and have like a little, they had like a little beach area near a lake. Near, you know, make a long story short, we were going to go all down there and take a bunch of cars, listen to music, and drive down there with the girls and some other guys and stuff like that, and have a party, and, you know, nothing too terrible. And we weren't doing anything too bad, okay? But it all blew up that night, and I'll never forget this album because of that night. Something happened. We got down to the beach area and the gates were locked. And then when we were trying to get in or something to see if we could go around the fencing to get to the beach to hang out and just listen to music and have a good time, and like a police cruiser drove by or something, so everybody panicked and said, let's get out of here or something. So the whole night kind of fizzled out, and me and my roommate, who had, you know, 2 girls with us in the car, who, you know, nice girls and everything, but nothing ever happened or nothing ever came of it. And after we dropped them off, we were driving home. We were listening to the song Cuts Like a Knife, and the first line, driving home this evening, I could have swore we had it all worked out. Well, that line strikes me to this day, because we could have swore we had that night all worked out, and it fizzled and blew up in our faces. And so to this day, whenever I hear that song or think about Bryan Adams, I think about that line in that song. So anyway, enough of that. That's just a little story for you. But this album, I do like it. I don't listen to it as often as maybe I should, because it is a great album. He kind of disappointed me in later years, Bryan Adams. He went to a more mellow kind of balladeer kind of crap, which I didn't like. I wish he had stayed the rocker, you know, in the leather jacket and rocking out like he was in the beginning. So that was a disappointment, but I do appreciate this album and some of his other works. All right? Anyway, folks, that's it. 16 minutes. Let me get out of here. But I just wanted to show you some albums that are lost in the time vault, lost in the catacombs of my vinyl collection, that have never seen the light of day for many years and decades. I hope you enjoyed it. Maybe you have some comments about some of these albums. Maybe you can tell me about some albums you have in your collection that never see the light of day and collect dust, but you still have them. Guilty pleasures, or maybe not so guilty pleasures, okay? So enjoy, take care, have a great day, God bless, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.